So apparently y'all enjoyed the helmet tier list we did a little while back, so I figured if one's good, two's better. Today we're looking at all the motorcycle brands out there and rating them from dumpster fire, garbage mode to actually worth owning. Now today we've got a handful of rules because there's roughly 458,000 motorcycle brands out there, and to list them all would take until the inevitable heat death of the universe, so for a brand to be considered in this tier list, it needs to be a common name in the motorcycling industry that is currently making motorcycles that are for sale. That means no Vincents, no Buells, or other defunct builders. I've got a short list of honorable mentions that we'll talk about very briefly at the end, mostly because I know if I didn't, I'd for sure hear about it in the comments section. We'll be judging brands based on one of the breadth of the bikes they make, interesting or unique things the company is doing, and general brand awareness. Now let's get started, but we've got a lot of things to cover today. First off, we've got the F tier. This one's easy. No bike maker is F tier. Come on, guys. We slapped Ruroc in F tier, and there is no equivalent in the motorcycling company. Maybe Royal Enfield circa 5 or 10 years ago, but they've honestly started trying a little bit more, and they're not that bad. God, that was crazy to say. Now we move on to E tier. Yes, I did forget to make an E tier for the helmets brand list. Thank you for that one person who reminded me when I posted it, and then there's dozens of others who dogpiled on. Anyway, an E tier motorcycle brand is one that's been doing the same uninspiring things over and over again, not trying new stuff, and basically is just on autopilot. The first brand that fits that description is BMW. Here comes the angry nerd rage, but come on guys, be honest. When's the last time the BMW tried something interesting? I can honestly say I don't remember. They're a super recognizable brand for sure, but BMW just wants to make sports sedans for rich people and an R9T to park next to it. They're not bad bikes, just super boring and not for me. Another U-tier brand in my opinion is Zero Motorcycles. Why? Because electric bikes might be the future, but it'll be a cold day in hell before I swap out my Daytona for a Zero. They are trying to make electric motorcycles stick, and they're making batteries with better range and recharge times year over year, but it's still a hard pass for me, dog. Last up in the E tier is Energica. Energica is basically if someone took Zero and said, what if we covered it in marinara sauce and biscottis, proving once and for all that there is nothing that can't be made in Italy and upcharged 200% for. They're E tier for all the same reasons as Zero. Also, the Ego definitely looks like a Lego Panigale. Look at these two. Lego Panigale, Energica Ego. It's the same thing. Now, regardless of whether you're riding around on some E-tier electric scooter thingamajig or on a real motorcycle, you're gonna need a place to put your phone. Thankfully, Rockform makes the best phone mount and case combo for your bike. They've got stem mounts for sport bikes and handlebar mounts for everything else. Their case is drop tested from 6 feet and can mount up to a bunch of different accessories, including wireless chargers, which is pretty sweet. But maybe you're looking for a slim EDC wallet or a set of speakers or something for your golf cart, Rockform's got you covered. Click that link down below and check out everything they have to offer and use the code YN25 to get 25% off your order. You're welcome. D-tier brands are one of those that have one thing going for them and not a whole lot of else. MV Agusta, for example. They make an achingly gorgeous motorcycles that are stupidly potent. They've got a Dragster 800 Beta Hayabusa, for God's sake. If you want a fully fared bike, they've got it. Naked torque monsters? Check. Maybe you want a naked bike that'll do 186 miles an hour for some reason. Look no further. Do you wish that an Italian company would make a Versus 650? May I present the Turismo Veloce 800 Lusso? Bikes are not MV's problem. It's the dealer networks because ain't no one checking the valves on their own MV. Also, nothing would suck worse than showing up to a bike night on an EBFI F800 only to have someone come up and tell you that's one sweet looking Gixxer. But don't worry your pretty little head, you and I both know your bike has more emozione. I'm going to go ahead and shoehorn Moto Guzzi in here for all the same reasons. They make cafe bikes instead of sport bikes, but they've all got the same attitude that MV does. Our next D-tier brand is Royal Enfield. They have the polar opposite problem as MV Agusta. They're a recognizable brand, for which I'm going to take 36% of the credit for, and they're actually attempting cool things. They have the Build Train Race program where you can enter a flat track series. They race flat track bikes, you build your own 650 race bike, and then learn to race it over the course of an entire season. They've got 2 Himalayans going to the South Pole for some reason, and their CEO forces all the C-suite people to actually go and ride the bikes to better understand the brand. That's awesome. The only hiccup with Royal Enfield is while their bikes are pretty, they're nothing to write home about. That's right, you thought I wrote that Continental GT and suddenly had to stop talking smack? This must be your first time here at Yammie Noob. They essentially only make 3 motorcycles, a slow 650, an even slower 400, and a 350 that you could literally outrun in a straight line with the pedal bike. Actually, I have a road bike, and I kind of want to try to see if I can beat it off the line. But hey, if their bikes are so slow, they don't need to spend money on brakes, and maybe that's their plan all along. Now we've got C-tier brands, which are either moving in the right direction or going backwards. An example of a company or companies that are going in the right direction, look no further than Harley-Davidson and Indian. They're still making overpriced boomer bikes because those profit margins are just so freaking juicy, but they're starting to get with the times and make some new and exciting things. The Indian FTR is a riot to ride. It's fast, it's torquey as hell, and then the new 2021 trim handles just like a proper sport bike. Harley's got their new 1250 engine with which they should just be cramming into everything at this point. Seriously, Harley, please just make a sport bike, please. A fully fared bike. No. Okay then. Both HD and Indian are taking slow steps in the right direction. It would just be nice if they stopped catering to an audience that grows smaller day by day and just commit whole hog to modern motorcycling and being a full line manufacturer. Joining our American brands in the C tier is Honda, the first of the big 4. They find themselves the C tier thanks largely to their stubborn insistence on making bikes that are slower, more expensive, with less features than the competition. Think about this for a second. When's the last time the Honda did something genuinely exciting? Yes, they made the Rebel 1100, which came out to a collective neat from the motorcycling world. It's a solid light to middleweight cruiser that will absolutely whoop up on any other bike in the category, and it's not a 15,000 Harley Davidson. But they unveiled a new bike based on patents for a naked bike with the Africa Twin engine, and what did we get? The most ugly and uninspired 1100cc sport touring dad bike I have ever seen. They used to be a company that took risks, and now they're so cautious that they wouldn't even consider the risk of taking on a new motorcycle. Seriously, Honda, just make me a V4 naked bike with the Interceptor engine in it, and you can have the B tier spot back. Or better yet, bring back the RVFs. Let's see some V4 race bikes. Come on, Honda! Last up in the C tier is KTM and Husqvarna. I'm not saying that word anymore. Yes, they're technically 2 different brands, but Huskies are essentially just blue KTMs anyway, so I'm counting them together. Also, KTM owns Huskies, so there. KTM has some pretty sweet rides. The Super Duke, the 890 Duke, the Adventure Duke, the Dirt Duke, and more. Heck, they've even got some solid talent in MotoGP and the 400 different kinds of dirt bike racing. But here's the problem with KTM. The CEO thinks it's irresponsible to make and sell sport bikes for the street. Okay, fair enough, you don't want people speeding and getting into trouble, but then why the hell do you sell a naked bike that makes 180 horsepower and 103 foot-pounds of torgos? I mean, if a squid's gonna slam into a tree, does it matter what their riding position is in? Knowing my luck though, someone in KTM is going to see this video, and instead of making the new RC8R, they're going to think, yeah, the Super Duke doesn't make any sense on the street. Let's stop production. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Let's stop production on the Super Duke. Husky, on the other hand, makes crazy looking thumper motorcycles, all based on the LC4 from KTM. They're fun and all, but there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. Now time for the B tier. This is where things are starting to get really good. Brands in the B tier have a ton of fun bikes to choose from, good brand recognition, but have a few little problems here and there that hold them back. First in the B tier, we got Suzuki. Suzuki's got some seriously fun motorcycles, be it the Busa, K5 Gixxer, Gixxer Style, the SV650, DRZ 400. You're hard-pressed to find a bad Suzuki aside from the Gixxer 250 and the S40. Even their dad cruisers have something going for them. The only problem with Suzuki generally is that they're stubbornly stuck in the year 2005. All their bikes are really, really good, and they hold up against modern competition, but they've had an if it ain't broke, don't fix it attitude for like 15 years now. Do I need crazy electronic suspension on my Gixxer Thou? No, but I'd rather have the option to make that choice for myself. But again, I can't say anything bad about the bikes because they just keep working. Again, unless it's a Gixxer 250 or an S40. Both of those have no reason to exist. Joining Suzuki in the B tier is Kawasaki. Now I know what you're thinking at home. Yammie, you won't shut up about the ZH2. How could a company that makes something so cool and fun be in the B tier? Because literally every motorcycle in their 650 class is worthless. If you want a Ninja 650, just buy an R7. You want a Z650 or a Z650 RS, MT-07 or XSR 700. You want a Versa 650, kill yourself. I'm joking. Please don't do that. It was a joke. But do get a Tenere 700 or something else. With the exception of their big bikes, Kawasaki is just a discount Yamaha. Now we've got A tier. The A tier is home to brands that are straight up awesome. Basically, every bike they make is solid, but they're missing one X factor keeping them from being A tier. For example, Aprilia. They've got you hands down one of the best sounding power plants in all of motorcycling in the V4, which you can go and buy for a reasonable pile of money for what you're getting. They've also got the RS and the Tuono 660, both of which are two powerful beginner bikes. They're excellent second bikes, first track bikes, finisher bikes, whatever you want them to be. They're also releasing the Tuareg 660 ADV bike, which is going to be pretty slick, and yours truly is currently checking them out in the hills of Sardinia. The only problem, they're forever doomed to live in Ducati's shadow. By getting an Aprilia, you might save on labor costs for maintenance, but it is worth having to explain that no, it's not a Ducati, it's completely different, and that choice is something you'll have to make on your own. Rounding out the A tier is my beloved Triumph. Look, I can shout about the Daytona 675R until I'm blue in the face, but they've got a bunch of choices from beginner bikes in their 660 platform to properly fast bikes in the street and speed triples. They've got ADV bikes, a new dirt bike initiative, and again, just listen to the sweet sound of the 675R. Need I say more? The only issue with Triumph is that across the board, they're a more premium and expensive brand, and with the 660 cutting one too many corners to meet an aggressive price point. In my opinion, the 660 is not really a great example of a Triumph triple, meaning that if you want a great sounding beginner bike, you're stuck with a Bonnie, which isn't bad, but it's not for everybody. It's time for the S tier. These are the only two brands I can think of that I can't really come up with a downside to. Let's start out with Ducati. Yep, the Bologna Bullet, Italian Stallion, Espresso, and Biscotti quaffing brand is literally synonymous with luxury and motorcycling. But they've got bikes that beginners can hop on with the 400cc Scrambler, then you've got the Monsters and the 803 Scramblers, the Super Sport, all the way up to the Panigale V4. Are they a bit expensive to maintain? Yes, but Ducati is a passionate and driven company pushing the limit with every model. Also, you tell someone owns a Ducati, it's an instant checkmate. They'll know whether it's a cager or a rider that, yes, you are better than they are. And it's important to note too that Ducati makes a great distinction being a brand that loves motorsports and racing. It's a common adage that Honda races bikes so they can sell more motorcycles, but Ducati sells motorcycles just so they can go racing. Last up is Yamaha. Talk about a brand of the people. No matter what you want, they've got it for you, and it's going to be cheap, last forever, and probably outperform just about everything else in the category. Sure, sometimes they get a little aggressive in reusing parts across their model, and yeah, the branding is a little cringy sometimes with like the Master of Darkness stuff with the MT bikes, but they're not pulling a Suzuki and just putting the same engine in literally everything and calling it a new bike. Wait. Don't think about that too hard. Their bikes sound better, last longer, and most importantly, are fun to ride. Also, Rossi took championships on a Yamaha. Did he take championships on a Honda too? It doesn't matter. Mic dropped. Honorable mentions time. These are brands that are too small to meet our criteria for a full-blown spot in the list, but we're going to talk about them super quick so you can get my thoughts on them, and I'll give you the company name and then a quick little slogan that sums them up. Norton. Bankrupt. Better luck next time. Ural. Sukabliet, comrade. Benelli, maybe try one of our shotguns instead. Gas. Oh, I really wish I could afford a KTM. JANUS, motorcycles for hipsters with nowhere to be. Quit loitering. HYOSUNG, what if every bike was a Versys 650? Arch, no, you can't afford one. Kimco, for when a Grom is too expensive. Fact, the annual number of worldwide shark bites is 10 times less than the number of people bitten by other people in New York. Jeez, goodbye. Now, partner, I gotta tell you, it's real good seeing you here at the end of this here Yammie Noob video. It's me, Cowboy Yam, aka Yosemite Yam, back at it once again. And you click this video right over here. Do me a little solid, okay? You made it to the end of the video. Do me a little favor here. Click this video. Keep watching yourself some of this incredible Yammie Noob content. It's pretty good.